Good afternoon. I'm Karina Papikian, Collection Systems Engineering Section Manager. The purpose of this meeting tonight is to provide information and receive input from the property owners in Sewer District 719, 11040 through 11042. We would like to determine the interest in construction of joint district and collection system sewer, to determine the interest in construction and for the joint district and system to serve the area located in the vicinity of 55th Street and Bennington Avenue. I would like to handle some routine basic
Karina,
information.
I see you talking, but we can't hear you.
Sorry, you cannot hear me?
Karina, I can hear you just fine. Who cannot hear?
Somebody cannot hear me?
I could hear. It sounded like Terry couldn't hear.
Terry cannot hear me?
We can hear, but it's not that loud. And I got my volume turned all the way up.
I will try to talk loud. Is that better? So I would like to go through some, again, whoever, if somebody didn't hear my name, I'm Karina Papikian. And again, I just would like to tell us that we're here to gain some information about the project and the interest. So I would like to let you know that today's meeting is being recorded, and the recording will be posted on KC Water
Karina, you're
website.
still not being heard.
I don't know.
I'm able to hear okay.
As am I,
Well.
maybe, as am I.
I can hear too.
Is there any problem with your computer maybe? I'm talking as loud as possible. Sorry about that. Will try my best. So as I mentioned, the recording will be available on KC Water website for those who won't be able to participate in the meeting today. We will take your questions, and we would like you to ask your questions after the presentation. There is a feature you can write, go to the show conversation. You can write your question there, and we will get back with you after the presentation is over. If you're participating by phone and wish to ask questions, to do the same thing. We will get back with you to finish the presentation. And if you still have questions or you have questions regarding just your property, we will provide you with the contact number, contact names and number, and you can, after the meetings, anytime to contact us. And I would like to introduce our KC Water team tonight. With us, we have Terry Lees, Director of Water Services Department. Can we turn on the video or?
Yes, we're recording.
Yep.
Please. Matt Bond, Deputy Director of KC Water. Srini Valabaneni, Smart Sewer Officer. Me, of course, and John Hitson, Project Manager. John will be doing the significant part of this presentation tonight for us. With this, I would like to invite Mr. Bond to share with you the department.
Yes, good evening, everybody. We appreciate you all coming out. We will ask you, please, to mute yourself, because that'll be a lot less noise as we go through the presentation tonight. So I'll just give a little bit of an update for KC Water. So essentially, we are a department of the city, and we operate 3 utilities: a water utility, a wastewater utility, and a stormwater utility. So you do see all of those separate charges on your bills. Next slide. The reason that we need to have those bills is because we have to, not only create the new assets like we're talking about tonight and extending our sewer system, but also operate the existing assets. So on the water side, we have the single large water treatment plant north of the river, 18 pump stations, several thousand miles of water mains. On the wastewater side, we have 6 wastewater treatment plants, 39 pump stations, about an equivalent 3,000 miles of sewer main. And then the storm sewer, we also have about 600 miles of storm sewer and everything that goes along with that stormwater system. So thank you all for joining us tonight. If you have any general water department questions, I'm going to try to monitor the chat line. You can put your name and phone number in the chat line. We can follow up with you later, or you can ask questions at the end of the night tonight. But we'd really like the focus to be on this sewer extension project. But again, if you have other questions about the water, wastewater, stormwater utilities, we'll attempt to answer those as well. So go ahead, Karina. Next slide.
Thank you, Matt. So as I mentioned, our meeting tonight is to provide information about the proposed sewer extension and the cost to the property owners. So the funding for the proposed sewer will be provided by a special sewer assessment bond approved by voters and from the subsidy program. The current subsidy from KC Water will pay for 50% of the construction cost. Additional funds were made available by city council approval for these districts through the city's public Improvement Advisory Committee, so-called PIAC program, to further assist in the funding of the sewer and KC Water sewer connection. So we also have the program that calls KC Sewer Connection and Septic Tank Closure Program that will assist in the disconnect of your septic tank system and the connection to the new sewer line. It will apply for the just families with below moderate and income families. And we here in Water Department, we can assist you in the application if you would like to make a request. So the format of the meeting is outlined in this agenda that you see on the screen. We will first present a brief history of the existing sewer assessment program and explain the process, provide project information, detailed project information, schedule, cost, and tax billing information. So next slide, please, John. So since 1924, city primary process for extending sewer into neighborhood without sewer has been through the creation of sanitary sewer benefit districts. Currently, there are over 6,000 homes on individual septic tanks. And since 1989, 44 sewer assessment projects has been completed in Kansas City area. As of today, we have 6 projects with completed design and pending the construction, and Bennington project one of them. As since 1997, KC Water provides 50% of the construction fund for the all sewer assessment projects. On this slide, I would like to just to show you, to explain, briefly explain the sewer assessment project process, because it's not just simple process. Start with indication of need. It's basically when we receive the request from the public sewer service, let's say property owner maybe received from property owner, or will maybe we get just phone call or maybe email, simple email. And as such request is made to KC Water, when it's received, we assign a project manager for that process. And then the preliminary investigation starts on this project. So PM, a project manager, conducts card inquiry, collect water samples, reviews and evaluate potential sanitary sewer service for the area, related environmental issues, prepares preliminary plan, defines sewer districts and cost estimate, of course. When all this work done, the next process is declaration of necessity, because as a result of this preliminary investigations, the declaration is necessity has to be adopted and enter into record. And this is actually first official legal step in the process.
It's just not going in the right place.
Karina, I'm sorry. I think you were inadvertently muted. Unmute yourself, please.
Ian, I'm sorry. Oh, it somehow does it automatically. Don't know why.
Yep, you're good.
How long it's been muted?
Just about 20 seconds.
20 seconds? Well, okay, I'll go again with declaration of necessity. So as soon as declaration of necessity is adopted, we're ready for public hearing. And usually public hearing, well, usually always public hearing has legal notice of the hearing is published. And hearing usually holds by KC Water. In the past, it was held by Public Works Department. As a matter of fact, for your project, it was held by Public Works Department. After the hearing, the director of the department, in our case is Perry Leeds, prepared a determination, a letter, where he basically make a decision that sewer is going to be designed and constructed. And then that decision will be made if we have more than 50% is in favor of proceeding, or if there is an environmental impact absorbed in the area. And then design phase started. Department will hire a consultant engineer. Very rare we have in-house, but sometimes it happened too. But then design engineer, we hire a design engineer to perform the survey, rock boring, prepare construction bid drawings, specifications, construction estimate, and acquire easements. Once the design is completed, estimated cost of the construction is apportioned to individual property owners. And that has to be entered in Gentex as a finance software. This cost will show up as pending assessment and is not owed by the property owner until construction is complete. The next step is bid process, is bid phase, which is we have public bid opening. Construction contract is awarded usually through the city's construction contract procurement process. And we usually award it to the lowest and the best bidders. Approval of the construction contract by City Council is required for all of the sewer assessment projects, and that's going to be a next step. After that, ordinance is in place, and the contractor gets notice to proceed, and he is ready to proceed with the construction. After the construction completion, after the final, and achievement for full operation and achievement of the final completion and acceptance of the contract in the field, total project cost and apportionment cost has to be updated in Gentex again. This cost indicates active assessment, and it owed by the owner, property owner, over the period of time based on payment method and option selected. We're going to talk about this later in this presentation. John will provide you the details on the project. Follow the same process, but he will just explain all the details just related to 55th and Bennington project. So at this point of time, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Hitson to provide you with all these details. John?
Thank you, Karina. Sorry, I had to unmute myself there for a second. So we look at the project history for this, and the map on the right shows the project area for the 55th and Bennington Sewer Extension Project, phases 1 and 2. Construction of phase 1 is shown in the area for phase 1 is shown with the gray cross hatching, and that portion of the project was completed in 2008. The preliminary investigation for phase 2 extends back into at least October of 2002, which is when the water samples were first collected. It's likely that the investigation began prior to this time. The declaration of necessity was issued on January 20th, 2004, and the public meeting was held on the same day. And as you can see, the determination letter was issued by the Director of Public Works at the time on March 31st, 2004. The water samples collected in October of 2002 and December of 2003. On both occasions, water samples significantly exceeded the acceptable limit of 2,000 fecal coliform colonies per 100 milliliters of water. A second letter was sent on November 19th, 2004, stating that an additional investigation was conducted on November 12th of that year to determine if the health hazard problems that triggered the project were corrected. The results indicated that the area continued to experience septic tank seepage and that the project would this map shows roughly the extent of the joint district sewers which will be constructed, as well as the overall project area outlined in gray dashes. The joint district sewers are shown in the yellow, blue, and green lines, while the solid red lines represent the collection system within District 11042. The dashed red line indicates the likely orientation of a future extension to bring sewers to District 11040. Detailed design and cost for sewers within Districts 11040 and 719 have not yet been created, but we'll be able to provide you with an update on them by late January of next year. So just a brief explanation of apportionments. Joint district sewers. This comes from the Code of Ordinances for the City of Kansas City. Whenever the city shall deem it necessary that a sewer be constructed or reconstructed in any part of the city containing 2 or more sewer districts, it may, by ordinance, unite such sewer districts into a joint sewer district and cause a sewer to be constructed therein, and assessments may be levied and apportioned to pay therefor. Basically, this means that property owners will be assessed a portion of the cost associated with the sewers, which will be required to bring service to them. That is why all of the property owners in this area were assessed for phase 1 of the project. The sewer built in that phase was a necessary extension of the system required in order to bring sewers into the area for phase 2. And I just wanted to briefly show this slide. This is a summary of the cost per square foot of property within the sewer districts that was presented in the information sheet that homeowners should have received. And the following slide will explain the calculations involved. So this, I know it's a lot of information to take in, but this table breaks down how the costs are apportioned to property owners within the sewer districts. Property owners pay for the sewers which will provide service to their district, either now or in the future. So for example, the property owners in District 11040, I'm getting feedback. Would whomever it is mind muting themselves, please? So as I was saying, property owners in District 11040 are paying only for the joint district sewer 1, which connects their district to the existing sewer, whereas property owners in District 11042 would pay for all 3 district sewers and the collection system, which will serve them directly. The overall cost, less the subsidy, will be assessed to property owners in 15 annual installments with interest based on the 10-year U.S. Treasury notes at the time the bills are issued. The cost can be paid in full at any time after billing, and the preliminary cost estimate indicates that property owners will incur a total cost per square foot of property they own within the respective district. So just briefly, the public interest cards, all of the property owners should have received a public interest card prior to this meeting. It looks like the one shown on the slide here. And we are requesting your input in order to determine the order in which assessment projects are constructed. The city has had a number of these projects on hold, and your input will help us decide which projects get priority. So please complete and return your interest cards by December 17th. So I want to present the tentative schedule for this project. Note that the schedule shows property owners' replies in January of 2021. This is not the date for submitting them. I just want to reiterate that. That is the date which we expect to have the responses tallied. So again, please submit your responses by December 17th of this year. After the responses are received, if favorable, the design firm responsible for the original drawings will begin to update them and make sure that their plans are still applicable and feasible. The process is expected to take approximately 6 months to complete. From that time, it is expected that an additional 6 months will be required to obtain all the easements required for construction. Once the easements have been acquired, the project will go through the city's standard advertisement process for construction bids, which is expected to last approximately 2 months. The bid selection and contracting process immediately follows. It normally takes 3 to 4 months, and then after that, construction will commence immediately. The tax bills are issued after the construction project has been completely closed out and the final balances have been paid to the contractor. And this closeout process can take several months, so we tried to estimate conservatively that the insurance bills are expected up to 5 months after this time. And so that concludes the general presentation of information. We will now take the remaining time to answer questions that you have. If you have future questions, you can direct them to me, John Hitson, or to Karina using the contact information included on this slide. And lastly, I'd like to say that in the interest of time, please direct your questions regarding your individual properties to us outside of this meeting. We'd like to keep the questions generalized for the current format. So with that, I am going to cease sharing my screen so I can pull up any comments or read any questions that people have, and we can start getting those going.
John, let's go ahead and leave it on slide 10, please.
Okay.
Just put it on slide 10, and then it looks like we have the names of all of our participants for those that have entered. So we will have your names for follow-up. I do see one phone number, 816-392-8022. Could you please identify yourself? If you're able to identify yourself, we'd appreciate that. And you may be logged in on the computer as well. 816-392-8022. Okay, let's go ahead and take additional questions.
Hey guys, did you say you want the questions submitted in the chat, or is verbal okay for this forum?
Let's try verbal.
Okay,
Chat too.
okay.
There is one on chat.
But go ahead, Jason.
John, would you like me to read the question? There is a first question I see here. When was the public hearing? And I believe John already responded to that question. Did we answer your question? It's on the screen right now, actually. A public meeting was on January 20th, 2004. And the second question, there is how are sewer bills calculated? You're talking regular bills? Or
The
sewer
assessment.
assessment?
Yeah,
Assessment?
regular monthly bills, or however often they're billed.
That would be good.
So I'll take that. The regular bills are a combination of the wastewater service charge in addition to a volume charge. And that wastewater volume charge is targeted on your average winter usage so that you don't pay for the amount that you might use for your drinking water during the summer when you're irrigating. So the rates are set on a normal basis. And Michael, if you could maybe put up a brochure information on the overall bills that we have, average bills, that would be helpful. We can put that up on the site.
Happy to do so. I'll put that on the projects page under the headline for this meeting.
So you have your water bill now where you have a drinking water service charge and volume charge. Then you have the stormwater charge and the wastewater service charge, and then a volume charge will be added once you connect to the sewer. And that's another thing we didn't talk a whole lot about. You will be responsible for making your own connection to the sewer, and there is some low-income financing that's available for to assist with that sewer connection.
Okay, for a verbal question?
Yes.
Okay, Jason Effley here. I'm in, I own in 11042. Sort of a two-part question. It looks like the samples were taken in 2002, 2013, some 17, 18 years ago. And homeowners were given, if I'm repeating it correctly, homeowners were given 6 months to take action to remedy the leak with the apparent leakage of the septic systems. Were specific locations and specific homeowners identified, or?
We believe so.
I can, so I don't have records for all of the samples collected. The records that I have are for the most egregious, I guess, levels. And so there, I think I have 2 or 3 residences listed there. But I will have to find out what those are, and I can give you that information at a later time if you desire.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that's germane so much now, but I guess the question was in spirit was if there were a couple of samples taken and they were at particular homes that there were septic problems, does that surmount to the entire sewer district of, say, 11042 now is subject to this action where we are some 17, 18 years later? Second part of the question, I guess, is how valid is the environmental data? It seems 17, 18 years old. Shouldn't it be retested and substantiated that is in fact still an issue for our community?
We may proceed with that process. We are going to update the design for the projects, and that might be a part of it because we will definitely gonna do, not definitely, but we are planning maybe to take some samples in sewer district 40 and 719. We might consider that, but at the same time, we will pull the information, what was the latest sample dates that they were taken.
So just so we're clear, the KC Water Department's position is that data samples, environmental samples from 17, 18 years old are sufficient for capital improvement project today and the 50% share by the homeowners within that district.
Yes, absent any other information. And again, we had, this one had been on the shelf for so long. This is why we wanted to get back out and, A, just bring everyone up to speed on the project. And then B, let you know kind of how we were going to go forward. But we will take that under advisement and the only expectation why things would have gotten any better is if there were significant rehabilitation of septic tanks in the area. But we can go ahead and do some confirmation samples before we proceed. We will do that regarding 11042.
Thank you.
Matt and Karina, in addition to 3 questions on chat, there are 2 hands raised under participants.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay. The first question is, why is Sewer District 11042 so much more than the other division? So 1142 Sewer District will pay for the joint district sewer number 1. You see that in yellow on your screen. Then also will pay for the joint district that in blue, joint district sewer 2, and joint district sewer 3. In addition, that's what makes it different from other sewer districts. It will pay for collection system that the lines in red, shown in red, because that's what makes the sewer available for those properties. That's why their bill is much higher than anybody else.
And Karina, let me add to that we have not assessed or identified the full costs of serving 11040 and 719. So the only costs that have been shown per square foot are for the contributions to the district sewers that were shown here to supply to the base of the watershed for those districts. We still need to finish the design. And as far as I understand, the declaration of the necessity and the water contamination was not identified in 11040 and SD 719. So that will likely, those districts will go forward if there is sufficient interest. And again, we're not expecting everyone to give binding indications on that yet because we haven't shown you what the full costs are for that. So the only costs that John showed before were for the joint sewer district lines that are shown in the colors here, but we haven't provided yet the full preliminary design and costs to serve for 11040 and 719. So we expect to have that information, in John, 2 or 3 months?
So we have requested the estimated cost from the design firm, and they just sent those, I think, during this meeting, so I haven't had a chance to look at them.
Yeah.
And then I do not know yet what the plans are. We only have the cost associated with their creation.
So if you vote and provide input on those sewer districts, it's mainly generally if you're interested in getting the sewers at this time, but you will have a chance to weigh in later when you know what the full cost will be to provide the service to your property.
So Karina, there is a
yes, we will when we get the estimate, we will be able to provide that information. Yes. Can we move to next question?
Yeah, we have a couple of hands raised.
Yeah, I see a question still here. Will there be another test before the design phase starts? And I believe Mr. Bond already addressed that question.
And the design is already complete for this section, so all we were doing is updating the design.
Updating, just updating.
Before we proceed, yes, it will.
I have a question for Angie Hanning here. I need clarification on prior assessment payment in full or otherwise as to how it applies and why additional balance due. I think you can. I would say please contact John or myself, and we will probably set up time with you. Go over your information on Gendex, and we will explain why and what's going on.
Karina, there was a hand raised in there. I think Marcus Lewis.
Yes, please.
Can you please go ahead and state your question, please?
Yes. Are you guys still going to wait for each homeowner to agree with it before you guys go through with the project?
We just would like to gain the interest in construction because actually owners already vote and determination letter has been prepared a while ago, and we are not going to proceed with that process again. So the reason that we have it first to update you in the situation here and the status of the project. And the second, we would like to know what the interest and to determine, because we have other 6 projects pending, we want to see if there is enough interest here to put it in priority.
Well, basically what I'm saying, regardless if the homeowner is interested or not, maybe some have already paid money to have their septic repaired. It's a matter of issue that needs to be repaired anyhow. So some may not agree with it anyway. It's an issue that needs to be addressed.
That depends what district you are in. If we're talking about sewer district 1142, that basically decision has been made on that, but that sewer district 40, 1140 and 719, that's we probably would like to know your opinion.
You're
Okay,
saying,
thank you.
But
You're
if you're talking about collection systems, the systems that bring sewer to your houses. But if you're talking about building the joint district sewers, determination has been made.
you're because of the declaration of necessity, it no longer requires the homeowner's 51% approval. There's a declaration of necessity, and that's why it's going to proceed forward as a capital.
It is actually a determination letter based on the scope in declaration of necessity, based on the condition of the health and environmental issues, and based on the loads.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Who else has got a hand raised?
Go ahead, Holly.
Yes, that is Holly Whitney. So when they had the public meeting, the original public hearing, it was back in 2004, 2002, something like that.
Yes.
And then though they had done the testing, they had identified specific properties that were causing the problem, given a certain amount of time to ameliorate that, and then reevaluated. But it seems like it was in when was it that the residents at that time voted on this or had participation in this decision? And also, how many of those owners, because we're talking about, I don't know if you're talking about 2011 to 2013, or if you're talking about 2002, 2004, that's so long ago. I mean, we just bought our property 6 months ago that we are impacted and doesn't actually even have a building on the 11042. So obviously, we're not the ones, it can't have been identified. There was no building there on our part of the property. So anyways, my question is, how many of the people, the owners, have changed hands and aren't even the owners from whether it was 17, 18 years ago or 7, 8 years ago? And once again, I agree that the groundwater needs to be reevaluated at this time. At the last time they did it was 17 years ago.
So we will do that. We will monitor the groundwater, confirm that it's still there. If it's not, then we will circle the wagons and what the determination is. It was not based on the vote, though. The declaration of necessity was based on the environmental contamination. So we will update that information before we through with the full construction of the sewer district 11042.
Okay, and then my other question is how assured is this project that it's going to move forward. You're saying that you've got like 12 projects that were designed and then put on hold. You're looking to move forward with like 6 of them. How likely is it that you will proceed with this project?
We've got basically 2 projects that we expect to proceed on in the next 2 to 3 years. So it is likely, if we confirm the continued environmental impact.
Yeah, Mr. Bond.
Yes.
If I remember right from the previous slides, I think that the declaration of necessity was issued in 2004. Am I close?
2003.
Okay, so 17 years ago, and the
2004,
delay in the execution of the work has primarily been based off of the company not being able to come up with the resources to perform their half of the project. And of course, you guys being in the construction business, construction costs escalate. And so because of the city's inability to perform over the last 17 years and get the work done in a timely fashion, now the homeowners are going to incur an inflated construction cost themselves, as you will as a city, but so will the homeowners. And this is not exactly a high income area. This is a working class area. How do we explain that logic? And even if it wasn't if everyone voted on the cards that postponed this project, it is still going to happen, correct? So punting it down the road is really just increasing the cost of the homeowners because construction costs go up commensurately year over year, correct?
Correct. And it's a combination of changed responsibility for the program. This all used to be within Public Works. There was a sewer geo bond program for sewer system that was in place to cover the portion of this that has been exhausted, and now we are funding it out of additional CIP costs. So the costs are commensurate with what they would be today, but yeah, there's inflation for doing it later.
Could you guys explain a little bit? Sorry, I didn't mean to hog the floor here. Could you explain the right-of-way process and what that means for the homeowners?
You mean the project?
The easements, how do you go?
Yes, sir, easements, yeah, easements.
So please repeat your question about easement.
How do you procure the easements?
Well, the process has been done back in 2004, my understanding. We have records of that. But there is a temporary construction easement that has to be, we have to go with that process again. So we're going to contact the homeowners in the places where we need the temporary construction easement, and we'll try to get your agreement on that.
I guess what I'm saying is, when you put your infrastructure in, will homeowners now have certain portions of their property that will be subject to, say, no build over clauses? The easement. So what are the limitations for the infrastructure installation for the homeowners?
Oh, I think over the easements, we don't allow any permanent structures. You still can have your fence, you can have some landscaping maybe, but no permanent structures.
Is that 5 feet on either side of the installation?
We usually have, it depends on the depth of the sewer proposed there. It's from 10 to 20 feet, majority of them. If it's very deep, it might be a little bit.
These backyard sewers, the backyard sewers here would not be very deep.
Shouldn't be, yes. So I'm looking maybe 20 feet.
10 foot either side of center line, max.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I have more questions here. I have lived here for 52 years and have never been to any kind of meeting. What are you people talking about? Joyce half fails. We have a list of the owners at the time of the public hearing, and all of these owners has been notified about the meeting. And we have all this documented and recorded in our files. So I'm sorry if you didn't have chance to participate.
And for your neighbors that may not have gotten word of this time, please let them know that they can access this recording. And then obviously we will set up one-on-ones with anyone that has questions or needs specific information around their property or the potential assessment.
And we would like to just also to remind you that the numbers that
Okay,
you
so
see,
when were these easements supposedly identified, approved, and what about compensation?
there are some we have to
Pardon me?
pull the drawings to actual records to tell you dates and time that it was issued, but we don't have that information now. But if you want to know exactly easement on your property or anywhere else, we can provide you later after the meeting.
Well, because so you're saying that the property owners who were going to have easements on their property were informed, officially informed, like 17 years ago. But once again, we don't know how many properties have changed hands since then, and that this project didn't move forward. And also, what about compensation for these easements?
At the time of negotiation, it was negotiated. So as of now, it's hard for me to say is anybody get compensation or not. But if you're interested in certain properties, like I said, please contact us. I will provide you with that information. And just I start talking about the numbers that has been provided in this presentation was calculated based on the estimating cost. So just to remind you one more time that at the end of the contract, as we mentioned, when the contract is built and constructed, the actual cost is going to be used for the final calculation. So these numbers can be changed, will be probably changed.
Hey, guys, how many soil samples or environmental samples needs to be taken for, a project of this scope? Just pick one of these zones. Say the most prevalent one here is 11042. How many environmental samples would need to be taken and be determined at risk before a project would move towards determination of necessity? Is it a ratio per septic system? Is it per parts per million? What are we talking about as far as how that works? Layman's terms, of course.
I would say that would depend on the area that we're looking for. And as of now, I just don't know exactly how many samples has been taken for this particular sewer district, but that definitely will depends on the area. And also where that they probably taken the samples from the spot on the upper portion of the area. And so, and if you have bad sample on upstairs, on the upper portion, that will probably flow, as you understand, can go downstream. It will be probably the same.
And it's not meant to be individual properties, but more representative properties, to cover multiple properties. So John, how many samples were there for 11042?
I would have to take a look back through Alex's records. Like I said, the only ones that I know of off the top of my head were the ones highlighted in the determination letter. And they cited specifically 2 samples from the October collection, and then 3 from the December 2003 collection.
Fine.
Just for our education here, so a sample would capture how many square feet of potential contamination or lack thereof?
The samples are based off of, specifically, they collect the water and measure the fecal colonies in parts per million of the water. Honestly, I cannot tell you how large of an area they are intended to represent. I've never personally conducted one of these samples. In the past, they've been conducted by I forget the name of the department exactly, the Neighborhood Services Department. And so they measure just the quantity in per 100 milliliters of water. And so, as I said in the presentation, the acceptable limit is 2,000 CFU is the units per 100 milliliters of water. And I know that one of the samples highlighted in the determination letter was upwards of 1 million CFU per 100 milliliters of water.
But we'll update those, and we'll advise the affected property owners of where we took them and how we sampled them.
So I have a question. These samples were all taken from 11042, and thus far, like 11040 or other areas have not been sampled. And like, I guess my question is also about the easements. The easement letters were only to those in the district 11042.
And 110412 also. We got easements on 11041 and 11042.
Okay, so samples have not been taken in those other two districts, 11040 or 711.
No.
Correct.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
they may have been taken, but if they were taken, they did not exhibit the high fecal coliform counts.
Okay, thank you.
Are the designs available for public view? And will you be taking any public input on those?
Yeah, design, as soon as design updated, we will have another meeting with you where we can share all this information. And you will be able to see all the proposals and get the information about your property. And we will be able to hopefully answer your questions.
And what time frame are we looking to do that? We're talking 6 months, 12 months?
So right now, we will probably update you in January on our future plans. We'll see what the outcomes of these meetings are, how much interest we have here. But design updates going to be, if we have a contract for the design updates, it's probably going to be 6 months.
Thank you.
Hey guys, I realize this is probably a city thing, but the square footage the square footage based installation cost seems a little unusual. Maybe you guys could enlighten us on that. You've got some, and this is a atypical part of a city where the lots are really large. Many of them half acres or more, and some of them are, really big lots. That drives square footage installation costs up by your kind of algorithm, your method of calculating the construction costs. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because you may have, and a lot of the homes are very small. So the premise would be a smaller home, fewer people, less wastewater being pushed down, but yet they're sitting on a big lot. So it seems a little bit disproportionate compared to, say, homes that may be further in a more dense part of town.
So the costs are not really cost per square foot. We've summarized it that way. The costs for the district are totaled up. First, they're estimated, and then after construction, we confirm it. And then it's apportioned out based on an individual owner's property, square footage with in proportion to the rest of the district. So we only provided the cost per square foot because we back calculated what those costs would be, just to give you an idea, where we didn't necessarily have the cost per lot. John, do we have the cost per lot though for all of the homes in 11042 as it stands right now?
Yes, I
Yes.
have the costs for all of the sewer districts from when the estimate was completed.
Right. So
And-
that summary of cost per square foot was really just it's not, you're not getting charged by square foot. It's your proportion based on the size of your lot with respect to the rest of the district. And the votes are tallied that way as well. You get more of a vote if you have larger land.
Okay, and then it's
And
also,
I would like to add, so actually the dollar amount, the value for each lot, those numbers has been calculated, and they already shown as a pending assessment for the properties in sewer district 1142.
okay, and so based off of that, that's good information. Based off of that, you've obviously had preliminary engineering and design. You'll put it out for competitive bid, and that'll true up the number. You'll award based off of that true construction cost number. If that number exceeds contract amount, there's overages, will that be shared with the homeowners, or will the city assume those overages and responsibility for construction performance based off of bid awarded?
It's based on the actual bids, whether it's over or under, and we're doing everything within our power to make sure that our cost estimates, going forward are, conservative, so we don't have to come back with bad news. We're still seeing a very good competitive bidding environment for most of our projects, which is a good thing. But we would have competitive bids, and there should be interest in a project of this size.
And
Okay,
still, even the construction cost goes up, KC Water paying 50% of the construction cost. So our cost is going to go up too, as well as homeowners.
And then I also don't think that we've mentioned it, but there's also been a PIAC contribution that has covered some of the costs of this, that have reduced some of the cost of this. And when you get your individual assessment for what it will be in your house, you will see how much the PIAC knocks that down. That's maybe 10 or 15%.
Yes, actually, in the table that John shared with you, there was cost without subsidies and with subsidies, and you can see the big difference.
And we're making sure that PIAC money does not evaporate, that stays associated with this district.
So could you clear up one more time on the size of the lot really does not determine the price of your portion? Is that what I'm hearing?
Your portion.
Yeah, it affects your proportion of the costs of the overall district. So if the overall district is in, it's 100 acres, a 1 acre lot will pay 1/10 of that 100 acres, a 1 acre lot. So that's just the proportion of the costs. So larger lots do pay more. A lot of the costs for the sewer systems are not just the homeowners and the cost. It's also, having the lines in the ground with infiltration, inflow, the water that gets into the sewers based on land area also is a major contributor to the sizing of the sewer system.
Mr. Bond, I think you meant one 1/100th of that cost in that example.
Correct. Did I say 1/10? 1/100th, that's correct.
What is the ratio of the house to wastewater versus the land?
I don't understand your question.
Yeah, me too.
Try again.
Well, you said the land contributes to the wastewater?
Yes, when you put a sewer in the ground, even before you before you hook houses up to it, there's some residual leakage that gets into it. During wet weather, as the groundwater table comes up. I mean, the newer systems with PVC pipe are pretty tight.
Yeah.
But
But doesn't the land contribute less than the house, the structure?
not in all cases, no. Not as the system ages. So usually your sewer systems, your dry weather flows that you have when there's no high groundwater tables or excessive rain for a long period of time, you will have a certain base flow that's coming from the houses. What we see in the sewer systems, though, we see peaking factors are 5 or 10 times that with the the groundwater effects and everything else for the water that comes in from the subgrade in the land. We do our best to make the systems as tight as possible, but that's a part of sizing the system. So usually size your overall systems to serve an area based on the land area, the developable land area, and then you also do a check on the number of homes that you have. And it gets more, if you start going higher with multi-story, denser residential development or commercial, the flows coming from the structures are somewhat higher. You have to look at both the land area and the each house connection.
Is the land area used in calculation of periodic wastewater bills?
Not directly, no.
Why not?
We do a lot of the maintenance and everything we do with projects to, again, limit the leakage and everything into the systems. We have a lot of projects where we're trying to fix the leaky pipes, I&I projects, sewer rehabilitation projects. So, but just the way the ordinances are set up for it, the capital costs for extending the sewer system for these districts are paid by the assessment process, and then the rates are covered with the volume charges and then a service charge for having access to the sewer.
We have a hand raise. Polly Whitney, please.
Or is that an old one?
Oh, well, so you do not take into account if there's zero construction on a lot. There is nothing to connect to that sewer system.
Yes, we don't. You're basically paying for the area that has sewer available.
So then the apportionment based on square footage, you said that it was not based on square footage. There was some way that they calculated it and then looked at it that way, but it is square footage, whether you have a house, whether you're going to connect or not, it is based on square footage and nothing else.
Not nothing else, but it's like Mr. Bond mentioned, the bigger the lot, the more you're going to pay. Yes, it does based
More portion of
on the area. Yeah.
Right.
So guys, if we take the 15-year terms on owner's portion of construction installation costs, I believe you said based off of the 10-year treasury rate, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Has anyone, I'm not a mathematician, has anyone calculated what that would look like for the average bill of the owner here? That's one, just kind of curiosity. And then secondly, why would homeowners be charged interest when we're taxpayers and we're actually funding this project up front by our taxpayer role? So just maybe some philosophical question.
Again, that's the ordinance that we're working with. So the assessment process is to pay it all on day one, but then you do have the option, if you want to spread out the cost over 15 years, to do that with that, marginal interest rate. So, but that is all established by ordinance.
Okay.
You all, very good questions. Very good questions and input. We knew that this had been sitting for a long time. We knew it was time to get out, and at least, this is the first one we've done of these projects that have been around for a while. Our director really thought that we needed to get out and make sure the interest was still there. And you brought up some good points. We'll update the environmental for 11042, and then address these other questions. And then certainly you can get your specific property, you can get the potential assessment cost and the finance cost. John, do you have one of those for middle of the road where you can talk about what the property owner's one-time assessment is and then what the 15-year payment would be?
I believe that the spreadsheet that I have, it just has it in monthly installments, but I'll have to double check that. So I can at least show how it was calculated and what the interest rate was that they used.
So
While you work to pull
regarding
that up, if there aren't any more questions at the time, I wanted to introduce myself as well. I'm the 3002 number.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what's,
just so you guys have it.
What was your name again?
Yes, Jimmy Haviland in District 719. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, in District 719, address 7001 Blue Parkway.
Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to ask if there was a collection of any interest at this time, or the best way is just to submit the cards.
Just the cards for now. And
okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
And you can indicate on those cards. You can indicate on those cards if you desire a follow-up call or meeting.
Okay, perfect. And just one last question to circle back to the previous one was that if homeowners already have a working septic system, it's not necessary to have to hook up to the system, as that is to the new sewer system, as that is an additional cost, if I'm understanding correct?
Yeah, that is correct. If you,
Cool.
so
It's
you would still be required to pay the assessment in 719 if the majority of the landowning area decides to proceed with that district. But then you would not be required to connect to the system, and then you wouldn't be paying any of the sewer volume charges. You would pay the service charge for having access to the sewer.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you. And is whether the project's going forward, is that determined on a district-to-district basis, or does the entire project move forward? I don't know if that question makes sense.
It does, district by district. There will be an independent decision made on 719 and 11040.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for answering those questions, you guys. That makes sense to me.
Okay.
When do you think that you will be evaluating, making a decision in 11040 and 719?
Again, we need to complete the design. So we're just getting that worked out with the design professional, and probably 3 or 4 months before we have the final numbers and get back out.
So you are planning to move forward also with the 11040 and 719?
Not yet. Not yet.
We've not made the declaration of necessity on those districts.
Okay.
So we're doing environmental samples there, updating those as well. And then we'll be taking a vote on those, but we need to have the full costs for that, in addition to what's already been presented for the joint district sewers that get up to the edge of these districts. But those will be independent decisions down the road.
Yeah, we actually have to follow the process that has been explained to you during this meeting. And you see that that process has several steps. So we have to go through all these steps in order to assess the property owners.
Matt and Karina, I think there's still one unanswered question in the chat from Robert Hanning.
Where?
From Robert Hanning, 7:38 p.m.
Is the prior documentation regarding sewage work in Brown Estate available online? If not, why? It may be helpful for many to have this background in understanding your current project.
Is that phase one? Is Brown Estates, is that phase one?
I'm assuming, yeah, Brown Estate.
That's 11042.
42? Okay, is the prior documentation?
So again, we have the design drawings that have been put together for that. We can show those to you again in one-on-ones, and that design is going to be updated because we just got to make sure that that it's all still applicable. And as we talked about, we'll prepared to talk to you about it, let you know how your properties are impacted, and we can make some modifications, adjustments within reason, possibly as well. So we can share that design with you for the joint district sewers that have already been designed. Again, that's not finalized, but we can share with what we have by contacting Karina. Go ahead and put the contact numbers back up, John, the last slide for Karina and John.
Hey, Mr. Bond, you guys have been really transparent and great. It's been a good call, but there's several of what appears to be follow-up items that ought to be pushed out to the attendees of this call, as opposed to hitting up John and Karina onesie twosie. Is that a possible option?
Well, certainly if there's a major change in the environmental samples and reading, we'll definitely get back out with all of you. Probably have another update, but we'll come up with some way to update you all. You can also check out the project website. But yeah, before there's any other major update, there'll be another opportunity for you to provide input and understand what's going on. So that's a long way of saying yes.
I've added the presentation to the website. It's on there now. And also someone requested information about rates, and there's a couple of links to that information. And then as Karina and John determine, we can always add more information as necessary. The recording of this meeting will be posted probably this evening.
So let your neighbors know about that, and we will keep you posted.
Thank you.
All right, anything else tonight?
Yeah, looks like not. We thank you for your participation.
Everyone stay safe and have a good, safe holiday.
Yeah.
Thank you. You too, you guys.
All right,
Thank
bye.
you.
Thank you.